Thank you, Anna, for the introduction. Good morning, everybody. Also from my side, also good afternoon from our colleagues in Asia. And yeah, it's my pleasure to present to you this day, this topic of the industrial vertical and how we aim to provide the best reliable solution for this kind of applications. But let's start with an overview. What are the goals of the safety managers regarding fire detection in applications in industry? And for that, we have four main goals in mind. First of all, ensure the safety, right? We want to keep the staff, we want to keep the building, we got to keep the assets safe. Second, we want to guarantee business continuity. We don't want production interruption because that would lead to costs. Of course, we want to minimize risks in regard to the two mentioned topics earlier. And not only that, but they also have to comply to various policies regarding processes, maintenance, for example, or contractors. So keeping these four key goals in mind, let's take a look of what are the key applications, let's say typical applications inside of industrial facilities. And for that, we compiled the list, you can see here, and we start with office and administrative areas, which are basically typical fire detection applications. There are not many particularities in industry regarding these areas, but still there is, let's say, a higher risk when we're talking about the possibility of fire spreading from nearby production with higher fire load, for example, like warehouses, or even the other way around, having in mind that a fire started in an office area can affect, let's say, a higher risk area that's in the vicinity. Then we move to production areas. Here we have a lot of challenges, and I have to say this webinar today, which is the first in the series, we barely scratched the surface. I always say industry is the thickest book in the fire detection, and for that, again, we're just going to cover some of these applications and some of these challenges, not all of them. So in the production areas, we have to minimize the risk of false alarms, first of all. So we need a very robust system. We have a lot of electromagnetic disturbances in production that are contributing to this challenging environment. We can have, for example, a dusty or smoky environment that makes detection with traditional methods quite challenging. We need to have an easy maintenance to have the minimum, let's say, disturbance towards the production processes. We don't want interruption for the maintenance of the systems. We can have, for example, sterile rooms where the, let's say, needs are a bit special. We can also have technical spaces with not too much space to, for example, use point detectors. Storage areas, here we have various challenges like high ceiling areas or high-rise storage, or even semi-outdoor areas, right? We can have freezer rooms with very low temperatures, and of course we can have very particular needs of a certain area. For example, we have gas that are, let's say, natural in or in some processes that we want to detect if there's a leak, and so on. So let's drive to some of these application and challenges, and we see which are our solutions for that. I will start with the electromagnetic disturbances because this is one of, let's say, the most common in industry, and sometimes one of the most difficult to diagnose or identify. And for that, we know electromagnetic disturbances can lead to false alarms in any of the systems, no matter how robust it is. And for that, we have a really amazing feature in our Avanade 4000 detector series, which we call eSmoke. Basically, we can inform the operator about the electromagnetic values that are at the level of the detector. And that is not only, let's say, when we install the system or when we commission the system, but also for disturbances that can appear after the installation or after the commissioning of the system. So at any moment, we can read these values. We can, for example, look at a detector that has a alarm pattern with no obvious reasons, and then we can read these values and we can draw the conclusion if this is caused by electromagnetic disturbances. Next, let's look a little bit on the dust environment, and we know that industry can pose this high risk due to component use or dust generated, and this dust usually accumulates into the point detectors, especially if we have a physical optical chamber for that detector, and I will emphasize this topic in a second. And for that, we have, of course, one option is to use temperature detector. Of course, point detectors have the same issues, but we can use, for example, sound probes for temperature detection or linear heat detectors, let's say. But if we still want to use a smoke detector, then smoke detection to detect the smoke in a dusty environment, then we have two options. Either we use aspiration smoke detectors with very high quality filters, or we can use our invisible detector, we call it, is a 500, 520 series detectors, which do not have a physical optical chamber. So all the detection is done, let's say, at an area of 5 centimeters below the detector. The detector is flush mounted to the surface. It doesn't have any physical optical chamber that will basically collect the dust. And this is also an easy maintained detector. I will come back to it at a later point during the presentation. Next, for example, we can have sterile clean rooms especially, for example, in pharma subvertical. And here again, the challenge is to not have any risk of dust accumulation, and usually point detectors are a point where dust is accumulated. Not only it will pollute the detector, but also will, let's say, contaminate the area. So for that, again, we have the option of our 500, 520 series detector, which is mounted to the surface and can be cleaned very easily, just wiping the surface of the detector. Regarding technical spaces and tight spaces, then here the challenge is that sometimes point detectors are not suitable to the clearance that you need around this detector. Some of them are, let's say, giving the opportunity to mount the point detectors, and then it's fine. But if not, then we have the possibility to mount aspiration smoke detectors or linear heat detectors. Both of them basically do not require too much clearing space around the sampling point for the aspiration smoke detectors, and actually not at all for the linear heat detectors. Sorry. Next on, let's speak about the high ceiling applications, and we can find these high ceiling applications not only in the production halls, but also in the storage rooms. And here we have the challenges that point detectors usually are limited in height, in the permitted height that they can be mounted. And for that, we can offer quite a wide range of beam detector or linear smoke detectors that can protect this type of spaces with a high ceiling. Um, Not only that, but besides these traditional methods, we can also offer Aviotech, which is our video-based fire detection um, camera that can detect smoke and flame. So not only smoke like the beam detectors, but also flame. And the very interesting point here is that detection would be at the source, so we don't need to wait for the smoke, for example, to reach the ceiling, which it makes it a real fast detection method in these cases or in this type of applications. So imagine, for example, for a beam or a point detector, the smoke has to reach where the installation height, but sometimes the air movement and yeah, the condition factors there maybe will prolong this time for the smoke to reach the detector or even make it impossible, right? And then Aviotech is the best solution for this type of applications because we don't need that time to reach the detectors. We just see the smoke and detect it. One of the, let's say, particular type of storage is the high-rise storage. Here, usually we have, for example, the goods that are stored very close to the ceiling, and usually this is classified when the goods are passing 9 meters height, and this is where we actually need to detect not only at the ceiling level the smoke, but also on the shelves. And for that, we offer the aspirating smoke systems where we can mount them, of course, also on the shelves itself and protect the shelves, not only the ceiling. Next on semi-open areas or semi-outdoor or sheltered storage spaces nearby industrial facilities. These are always a challenge to detect, especially smoke, because of course atmospheric condition can, let's say, be very challenging in such an application, and not all the detection methods are suitable for outdoor mounting. And for that, we have Aviotech Outdoor, which comes in an IP67 form. It can be mounted outside, it's weatherproof, it functions in all illumination conditions, even down to 0 lux, because it has an infrared illuminator, and can detect, let's say, flames and smoke in very early stages, in few seconds, even in outdoor applications. Yeah? And it's very interesting that this camera, it's also based on deep learning algorithms, AI algorithms, and can be trained for, let's say, specific disturbance factors. Like, for example, in previous application, we find out cloud reflections can generate false alarms. So the camera was trained to ignore this. So this is the beauty of this product. It's based on AI algorithms and can be trained for ignoring various disturbance factors, and that's makes it very suitable for outdoor applications. Good for low temperature storage areas. We have the options of providing aspiration smoke detectors. Is needed for really and quick detection, because in low temperature the flammable materials are even more easily prone to be set on fire. And because of that, let's say cold areas are high risk area. Not only that, besides the aspiration smoke detectors that we can offer even with the mounting inside the freeze chamber, we can also offer Aviotech, because Aviotech, depending on the way we power the camera, can also go even below -20 degrees. So I think even up to -40 is the rating for the camera to function properly. So that will make it very, let's say, suitable for this type of application. First of all, because of the harsh environment, and second of all, because of the speed of the detection and the detection of source, right, at source. Next on, explosion risk areas, and this is always, depending on the industry, a challenge in industry applications. And for that, of course, we are talking about areas where we store or use in processes materials that are highly flammable and with the risk of explosion. And for that, we offer, let's say, range of X-proof, ATEX certified products like point, smoke, and heat detectors, flame detectors, but also signaling devices to alert the people or the staff in those areas. So this can be also connected to our core fire alarm system and integrated, even if they are not part of our offering and you have special needs for a special X-proof detector, that can also be integrated in our system. We also have, depending on the projects, because every project is unique, of course, we have very specific needs. And here we can talk about, for example, toxic gas detection like carbon monoxide, flammable gas detection like, I don't know, oxygen or methane or other gases. So it's important to know that even we as Bosch do not offer the complete portfolio of foreseeable detectors for this kind of application. You still can integrate any third-party detector into our system. So that's one topic you also have to keep in mind as an integrator, especially that if you have a very, very specific requirement, we can make sure that this can be integrated in our main core fire alarm system. And next on, I will talk a little bit not on specific application, but specific needs that we have in industrial area. And one of them is to have an easy maintenance. And that usually means to ensure that the interruption in the production processes is minimum. And for that, we have some let's say, features of our products. And I'll start with the detectors. Here we have the possibility to clean the detectors. Not they don't have to be replaced when the pollution level reaches a critical level. So this is one of the features that we have even in our standard point detectors. There's a plug that you can connect the compressed air device that will clean the detector, and then you can continue to use it with, let's say, minimum intervention on that. Also, do not forget, we have the virtual chamber detector that doesn't need that much maintenance. It just needs to be wiped, but I'll come back to this in a second. Second, I would like to talk a little bit about our predictive maintenance. So all of our detectors can send information about the analog data they collect to cloud, to the cloud system for monitoring. Here it's monitor for all the values, including pollution, and there are algorithms behind that can basically predict when these detectors have to be maintained, how many of them will reach a certain pollution level and when, and so on. So basically, this predictive maintenance will help us a lot in minimizing the downtime and knowing exactly beforehand how much of the detectors we have to clean, we have to replace, we have to intervene at, and then take the measures accordingly. Also very important to mention here is that our system it's two-way, has a two-way compatibility, so we can basically put upgrade the panels and keep old peripherals, but also put, let's say, new peripherals on older panels. So it's two-way compatibility that basically ensures the value of the system. It's prolonged to the maximum lifespan possible. Next on, a little bit more about the additional services we can offer together with our system. And for that, we have the package that we call remote services. And normally, this is very suitable for industry because industrial sites are usually spread across large areas. That makes traveling very difficult from one point to another. Maybe not difficult, but time consuming. So with these remote services packages, we allow a lot of the operations, like, for example, configuration, programming of the system, troubleshooting, diagnosis, and even maintenance of the system to be done remotely, even with a mobile terminal. And for that, also, it comes with an alert mobile app with push notifications in a package, so you can also benefit for that in the complete remote services package. So this is very suitable to this type of applications because of the challenge of the geographical spread, and then the technicians and the operators can just remotely access the system for these operations. Good. So as a summary for the content so far, I would like to basically put in four benefits why a Bosch fire alarm system is suitable for industrial facilities. So first of all, we have a reliable and proven um, quality system. So not only the experience, we go back to more than 100 years with the fire detection systems, but also the reliability of the system. It's making it very, let's say, suitable to protect lives and assets in industry applications. We talked about this electromagnetic detection and all the possibilities to detect in different challenging environment, and this come also to this conclusion that it's a very reliable system. Second, we needed very early fire, flame and smoke detection. And for that, we have methods that detects really, really fast, including Aviotech that can be connected to a main fire alarm system. And this way, we want to minimize the time that can lead to, let's say, damages of life loss. We have a modular system, so basically all of our panels are modulars and can be, let's say, upgraded to the needs of the system or to the expansion of the system, and we only need to pay for what we need at a certain point in time. And finally, we offer these additional services like remote services, which adds value for the end user, but also for the system integrator that works or maintains the system and making, let's say, the life easier for everybody. Good. So we talked a little bit about the typical applications. And now let's take a look a little bit on our system and what we can offer. And for that, I have here, let's say, a diagram of our system. At the core of every fire detection system is the panel, right? And I will talk about a panel in a second. Then we have the peripherals connected via addressable loops. And here we can offer redundant loop, or we can also offer conventional lines. We can also offer T branches, in the addressable loop with addressable elements. Besides the detectors themselves, we can connect to this loop various type of interfaces for interconnecting various equipment via different type of inputs and outputs. We can connect wireless detectors, special detectors like, for example, aspiration system, which is addressable and can be connected directly on our LSN loop. Call points, of course, signaling devices, including EM5423 flashes that are addressable. And not only the addressable peripherals, but I'd said also the conventional ones can be connected, like conventional detectors, like, for example, beams that are connected to interfaces, or conventional signaling devices that can be connected directly to the panel or to addressable interfaces. In addition to the peripherals, we have also the option to connect remote keypads, fire brigade panels, which can be, of course, addressable or let's say conventional, connected to the brigade to the panel. We can connect the panel to various services, like, for example, fire brigade or monitoring station, but we also can integrate to management systems via open protocols or to public address and voice evacuation system. And let's not forget about the Bosch cloud, Bosch Security and Safety Cloud, and the panel can be connected via a router to this cloud and benefit of all the remote services. So that's, let's say, overview about our system and what we can connect to it. Of course, via interfaces, we can connect various, let's say, conventional detection methods that are not part of our portfolio, and that's very important to remember. But let's discuss some of the key products that are part of this. I will not be able to go through all of them because the time is very limited, and I also want to leave at least 10, 15 minutes maybe for questions at the end. So let's talk about the key components. And I would start naturally with the panel. And in our current offering, the panels we offer are called Avenar 8000 and 2000. Avenar 8000, it's modular panel up to 32 loops, so it can be configured from 1 to 32 loops, and it can be networked with up to 32 panels in the same network. It's a very flexible product that comes with the possibility to customize it for exactly your project needs for all system applications, all systems and application sizes, sorry. And it also has, let's say, the compact version as Avena 2000, which can be configured 1 to 4 loops. All the panels are, let's say, benefiting a very strong and fast controller that comes also with a very modern interface with an 8-inch touchscreen, color touchscreen that makes the operation very clear and easy. And for the Avenar 8000 possible, there's also the option for redundancy. In case we have more than 512 detectors per panel, then we can connect the second controller that will function as a redundant controller. And yeah, not only for the controller there's this option, but also for other components like loop modules or power supplies and so on, that can also be, let's say, designed in a redundant way. So very important to know, all the controllers come with a 4-port Ethernet switch embedded. You don't need to add any network cards or anything to the system. It comes already with these 4 Ethernet switches that also provide the option for integration, data integration, like not only for the voice evacuation system, for example, or management system, visualization softwares, but any other type of, for example, alarm server via our supported protocols. And maybe one thing to mention is that um, all the, let's say, displays that we offer, they are very, let's say, marking free. So we only use this language neutral LED status, and all the content is on the touch screen. So basically it's the same controller for any language out there that you want to use in the whole world. It's the same part. Good. So mentioning the panel, let's move to the point detectors. And here I want to highlight some feature and benefits of our Avenir 4000 detector range. First of all, it can come in multiple models as a single or double uh, sensor for optical smoke detection. So that means with one LED or two LEDs in the optical chamber, the dual LED comes with two different wavelengths. So that will make it very robust against disturbing factors. It can also come in multiple sensor variant, like with one or two LEDs, but also with heat detectors or even CO detector. And very important for the CO detection, also according to the new EN54 chapters that regulates CO detection for fire detection. So besides the dual ray technology, which is these two LEDs in the optical chamber, we also, the detector is also capable of two more false alarm filtering methods. One is the ISP. So thanks to these algorithms inside of the processor of the detector for internal signal processing, it makes it really, really fast in detecting known fire patterns, especially for multi-sensor detectors. And the second one, we already mentioned it, but I want to mention it again, the e-smoke feature, which basically shows the values of the electromagnetic disturbances at the level of the detectors. And let's say you have a system that's functioned properly, and suddenly after a while it starts to, for some detector, it starts to have false alarms. Then you can just check that detector. If it has a, let's say, higher EM value, then you know that there's a new, for example, a device that was mounted in an area that generates a high electromagnetic field and thus generating these false alarms. We have all this condition monitoring that I explained a little bit for data analysis inside our cloud available. And very important, these detectors can be addressed manually or automatically. That means you can auto-address them, or you can put them in special structures like T branches, for example, and address them manually. Good. And the other detector series that we are talking about is the 500, 520 series. And this is what we call the invisible detector. And you can see it here in the picture that it's flush mounted into the surface of the ceiling. So basically there's no physical optical chamber, because there's kind of a virtual optical chamber there. The detection is taking place around 5 centimeters below the surface of the detector. It has two main advantages. First of all, very easy to maintain. Yeah, you can clean it just by wiping the surface, and that's all. And the second, very important, it has a timeless, what we call it, ultra flat design. Basically, it's loved by architects around the world because it has a very minimum impact to the design of the rooms. And also it can be personalized in a lot of colors, right? Like you see here, 16 raw colors. It can be individually, let's say, personalized for color matching with the surroundings. So these are, let's say, the two ranges of point detectors that we can offer. And I wouldn't insist on the special detectors with this occasion, but I encourage you, if you have the need, for example, for content regarding special application or special detectors in industry, please reach out to your Bosch partner, um, Bosch representative locally, give this feedback or write it in the chat now. We collect these feedbacks and we can develop additional webinars in the future, especially for that. So finally, from our product range, I want to talk a little bit about Aviotech, our video-based fire detection camera. It has, let's say, some advantages towards traditional fire detection methods. First of all, we're talking about really fast detection speed. We are detecting smoke and flame, both of them simultaneously, and we can do that in a lot of harsh conditions like low illumination or with a new generation of cameras, even with high dynamic contrast in the image, because that was not possible with the previous version. But with the new camera, this is also possible. We can detect in zero lux with the infrared illumination. And yeah, it comes usually as a complementary detection method. It's not the, let's say, main line of the defense, but it comes, let's say, as a complementary measure, especially with the places with a high fire load where traditional methods are, let's say, not enough or not fast enough to detect the fire, right? Here, I would also mention another advantage of this product is that it can offer the possibility for root cause analysis for the fires, because it can be either connected to a fire panel as a detector. It can even record on an SD card, for example, in this scenario. But it can also be connected to a video management system, and not only the Bosch VMS, but also other platforms like MyStore, Genetec, and so on. And then it can be used, first of all, to record the images and see what happened, which was the cause of the fire, and then apply corrective measures for this type of situation. Right, and last mention, and I promise I finish with this, sheltered outdoor areas, a really important application for these cameras. Also in industry, we have a lot of outdoor areas for storage or nearby the production and so on, where there's basically no other method to detect fire, especially with this speed. Smoke, even more, almost impossible to detect in this outdoor sheltered area. So this is where Aviotech is really shining and making, let's say, adding value to the detection system. So that would be, let's say, from my side, some of the key products. I will not go again into presenting all the type of detectors that we can offer, because there's quite a lot of them. That's why I focused more on the application part. But for example, if you're interested in more about Aviotech, we're having 2 upcoming webinars regarding detection in energy, so energy production, energy storage, and so on. So that will be also one of the, let's say, focus for Aviotech as a vertical. So please make sure that you register also for those webinars. Those are really Aviotech focused. And if you would like, let's say, a special webinar for some special application, just reach out to us and we can develop it. So saying that, let's move a little bit to the questions. I hope we have some questions in the chat.
Thank you, Florin. Yes, we have already received several questions.
Yes, but just one mention, Anna. After the questions, we also have a feedback round. So please stay around because we also want to collect some feedback from you after we go through the questions in the next 15 minutes, and then we will come back with some feedback questions, right? Okay.
So then this is the time for sending your questions, please.
Yes. So I will start with this one. I'm sorry, this is not a question about detectors, but I'm curious if there's any way to generate battery calculation for safety system designer tool. What is the recommended battery runtime to fulfill EM54 requirements? Okay, yeah, this is a very specific SSD question, but no problem, we can answer that as well. So yes, SSD will generate the battery calculation, including the let's say backup time, buffer time that the battery will offer. And you have to set that in SSD according to your local norm, because this is actually not by EM54 as a requirement, but as local design rules, norms. So that can vary, for example, in Europe from 24 hours if it's a manned location with a connection to a monitoring center, up to 48 hours in some countries, or even 72 hours in a lot of countries, especially if the location, for example, is not occupied 24 hours per day, right? So basically, you should address the local norm, the local design norms. You can also go get in touch with your Bosch representative because they for sure can answer that locally. And SSD basically offers the support for whatever the norm is to fill out what's the needed time. It would add automatically the batteries you'll need and will make the calculation for this amount of batteries. I hope that answers your question. So another question, which is more reliable as a model of camera which is suitable for fire detection without reach the flame nearby ceiling. I imagine it's without the need of the flames or smoke to reach the ceiling. I imagine this is the question. Hopefully, I interpreted it correctly. This is very simple. We offer only one model of cameras, and this is suitable for all the applications for video fire detection for both flame and smoke. So we don't have different cameras. We will have in the future a new camera that will have a long range lens. So that will be, let's say, for special applications where the distance from the mounting point of the camera to the possible risk area for flames and smoke will be higher. But at this point, we only have one model of camera. So it's the same camera for all the applications. Can I have the presentation, please? I think, Anna, the presentation will be shared.
Yes, I can confirm
Yes.
this. In the next few days, we will make it.
Perfect. What about Avenar 8000 series? So I just presented the Avenar 8000 panel, if that is what I mean, what is meant by the question. So we have Avenar is the brand name for Bosch fire detection system in general, and we have panels, control panels, Avenar 2000, Avenar 8000, and we have, for example, the detector series that is called Avenar 4000. So basically, we use this brand name Avenar for various products. And Avenar 8000 is a control panel, modular, up to 32 loops, networkable up to 32 panels in the same network that I just presented a little bit earlier. Okay, remote services in industry, there is an issue to connect the fire system online to the Bosch cloud. Can we get some IT security statement of IT safety certificate for remote services? Well, I think that might be even available already as a description of how the um, communication is encoded between the router, which is on site, and the cloud. And of course, for that, we will need to have in the location somebody who better understands the mechanisms of IT security, because of course, all the communication between the router and the cloud is secured, is encoded. The router comes with with a certificate that will encode basically all the communication with the cloud, acting as a VPN towards our cloud, so nothing can be, let's say, intercepted or altered in this. But yeah, let me get back to you with more information on that. So yeah, next question. About the interaction between systems, if we have a building where two systems are designed, fire detection by Bosch and voice evacuation, I imagine, Presenza, also by Bosch. And in the fire detection, EM5423 beacon with the sounder are foreseen, how does the system behaves in case of fire? Will there be a collision between fire detection beacons and with sounders and voice evacuation system? Is there a hierarchy or response, or how? Well, yeah, very interesting question. Thank you for that. It's a nice topic to highlight the possibilities that we have in programming our system, because one of the beauty of the panel and the controller is that it's very flexible in the programming part. We can do whatever, like the short answer is that we can do whatever scenario you would need, right? So we met scenarios where we had to, for example, alternate the sounders and the voice evacuation message. And then we do sequences, for example, to keep the voice sounders on for a period. Then we stop the sounders and trigger the controls for the voice evacuation system for a certain amount of time, and then back to the sounders. We can make a loop, for example. And these timers are, of course, programmable. This can be done, obviously. We can, for example, there are systems where you rely only on the voice evacuation system for all the alarming, including the tonality for evacuation, and then the messages and so on. But we can alternate in between the systems. And the beauty is that Presenza, but also other voice evacuation systems from Bosch, are integrated via just one internet cable. So it's a data communication, Ethernet data communication between them. And you can program no matter how many messages you want to transmit, in how many zones for the voice evacuation, you will still just need a cable. Even if you have later on expansions of the system, you don't need to do additional cabling. So it's a very easy integration, data communication, and you can do, you have the flexibility to do everything you would like. So when will there be a mobile application for the plant managers so that they can silence alarms and reset alarms. Okay, well, this is on our roadmap as a product, but I cannot give you now any answer, unfortunately, if there will be at a certain date. So it is something that we have in consideration to develop a mobile operating app, but I cannot give you any details, not because I don't want to, but I just don't have them from the product management at this moment. Would there be a KFA module that would allow Avanade 2000, 8000 to be approved for handling gas extinguishing systems? Well, no, but there is also option here, and the main application for this regarding extinguishing, and the main, let's say, key problem here is the reliability of detection. And according to all the norms, EN 1294, VDS, and so on, you can use the detectors and the fire detection panel separated to the extinguishing control. So what you can do is to use the Bosch Avanade 4000 detectors, for example, connected to our Bosch Avanade 2000, 8000 panels, and then connect that to a compact, for example, one zone extinguishing controllers where you only have the call points connected and the extinguishing installation. And this way you can benefit, you basically extend the reliability of the detection system also to the extinguishing part. That's very easy to do, and this is the practice that we do at the moment. And there's quite a lot of, let's say, conventional extinguishing panels in the market that you can use that are really, really not having a big impact on the bill of materials or the costs. I hope that answers your question. When will there be a switch for a fire department key in the front of the 2000, 8000 panel? This is a requirement in Sweden. Okay, that I have to check with the colleagues that are in charge of the Swedish market. I think there's, to my knowledge, there's a very active focus on the Swedish market, and that will basically means all the requirements from this from Sweden are collected and basically taken into account. But I cannot give you clear, let's say, timelines for that. Please write back to us an email so we can put you in contact with our Swedish representatives that maybe can give you more details on this specific, let's say, local issue. Please tell us about the OPC feature. Can we integrate IVNR 2000 and 8000 individually with common FAM, BIS? Well, yes, everything that can support the OPC protocol can be can integrate Avanade 2000 and 8000 systems, even network system, into a management platform. BIS, it's absolutely no issue. We have hundreds, even maybe thousands of systems that integrate fire detection panels into BIS, both Avanade panels and the previous generation that was also possible to integrate in BIS. So absolutely no problem on this remark. In BIS, you can get all the details up to detector level. You can place the detectors on the floor maps. You can control them. So everything that you do with the other systems like voice evac, intrusion, access control, video, you can do with the fire detection system. So really no problem. And that it's also possible in other softwares, not only BIS, right? So we try to accommodate as many vendors as possible. That's why we opted for OPC, which is an open protocol. Next question, is the Aviotech camera suitable for outdoor use at recycling station where we want to monitor large piles of rubbish that can spontaneously combust over a large area? Well, here I would say the camera would probably need more training. So it would probably need more footage that is analyzed by the deep learning mechanisms to make the differentiation between real smoke and, for example, the steam that is very particular to this kind of application, right? So there are gas emanations, steam emanations that are basically, you have to understand it's a video-based fire detection. If it looks like smoke on the image, the camera thinks it's smoke. It's very simple, right? But there are some particularities, characteristic of these emanations that can be considered and can be trained. And this is the beauty of deep learning AI algorithms, and this maybe can be trained for a particular application like that. It's something that we have on the roadmap to train the algorithms for this specific application. So I think more details will follow in the marketing communication as well on this type of applications. In a panel, how many devices can we connect? There are limits, of course. The top limit for one controller would be 4096 devices. If it's a standalone panel, 2048 if it's a network panel. So basically that is the top limit for one single panel. Hi back. On the Aviotech, can the camera differentiate between steam and smoke based on the density of each? Well, I was just saying, yeah, it's a video-based fire detection system. If it looks like smoke, it's treated like smoke. In the past, with the previous model of Aviotech, we had the issue of very thin smoke that wasn't detected. So now we make it that smoke can be detected to various, let's say, densities from very thin smoke, barely visible to the eye, to thick smoke. Because of that, if the steam behaves very closely, because it's not only the let's say opacity of the steam, but it's also the movement, the turbulences, and so on that it's analyzed. So if it behaves like smoke, I would rather say it will not be distinguished the steam from smoke. But if it has, for example, particular traits that can be trained into the algorithms, then it's a possibility. Next question, in case of existing FPA 5000 and like to add Avenar panel, what is the version limitation? So the last version that supports both controllers is 3.51, which was not very far away as a release date. So it's rather up to date, I would say, feature-wise. So it can still be used to combine the two generations of panels in the same network. Next question, which module can we use for integration Aviotech and fire alarm systems? FLM i8 or conventional module? So basically Aviotech comes with two relays, one for alarm, one for fault. In the end, it's up to you. Any interface that can support a connection to a voltage-free relay, it's good. So it can be connected not only on the loop with I8 R1, it's one option, I2 it's one option, RHV is one option. So basically you have a lot of options, even directly into the panel with the panel modules you can integrate it. That's also an option. I'm looking and I see there's a really long string of questions. I don't think we can cover them all, unfortunately.
Yes, but, actually, I can see also additional questions, but
yeah. So my proposal then is let's move to the feedback slide and let's take all these questions, Anna, and try to answer them offline afterwards.
Yes,
right?
yes, this is exactly what I just wanted to suggest.
Yeah.
So I have created some screenshots about the questions, and then we come back to you privately.
Perfectly. I really love the interaction and the fact that there's a lot of questions,
Me too.
and it's really awesome. And I promise you, I will look into all of them and come back to you. But it's a shame that we only have 1 hour, which just passed right now. So for that, I would kindly ask you, Anna, maybe you take over from now, please. And very big thank
Yes,
you from my
yes.
side.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you very much for your questions. Really, it was a really intensive part of our presentation, and now this is the time to give us some feedback. So before we close the session, we would appreciate your comments, your evaluation. You will need your mobile phone. Please scan this QR code and take a small survey. Yeah, and somebody is asking me about the video recording. Yeah, we are going to share it together with the presentation. Don't worry. Okay. I think that's all the time we had for this topic today. We really appreciate your participation and engagement in our webinar. A special thanks to Florin for presenting the topic. Thank you very much, Florin.
Thank you also from my side for the participation and the opportunity to present.
So in the next few days, we will share the presentation and the recording of the webinar with you. If you have further questions or need more information, please do not hesitate to contact our local Bosch team. And then before we are closing, just 2 comments from my side. In the next couple of weeks, we have a plan to send out a special newsletter focusing on references in industrial vertical. So if you would like to receive this special newsletter, please subscribe to our newsletter service. And then the other is the next webinar session at the end of March, special applications for healthcare facilities. We hope that we are going to seeing you there as well. So thank you very much once again. Goodbye.
Thank you also from my side. Have a great day.